I couldn't get into a bar until I was 21, even though I was in the military and shot at when I was 18 years old. And I still couldn't get into a bar when I was 18 or 19.
Upsetting.
Okay. So I kind of have that. And that's a personal thing that I've got to deal with.
Stop building some stupid dick-shaped spaceship and do that. Like, help. Jesus. Come on.
Well, I can't do any better than that. Dick-shaped spaceship, penis rocket. That's what we call it, penis rocket. 92% of employees at ZipRecruiter say it's a great place to work. 92%. I guess my biggest question is right now, how many of these people are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome? I'm an Xer. I'm on TikTok. I don't give a fuck. Where's the bar? Mo?
Hide your kids. Lock the doors. You're listening to HR's most dangerous podcast. Chad Sowash and Joel Cheeseman are here to punch the recruiting industry right where it hurts. Complete with breaking news, brash opinion, and loads of snark. Buckle up, boys and girls. It's time for the Chad and Cheese podcast.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Chad and Cheese, HR's most dangerous podcast. I'm Chad, Euro 2024 Sowash, and on today's show, we're diving into AI washing drama with the SEC and Joonko. ZipRecruiter is a great place to work, not. Mistral AI scored a big round, and GemBot. Who? Let's do this.
Hospitality is the heart of our society. It brings people together to share great food, drinks, and experiences. But successfully managing a restaurant or hotel is no easy feat. That's where Harri comes in. Harri is the frontline employee experience platform that helps you build, manage, and engage great teams. With Harri, managers can easily find and hire top talent, manage timekeeping, and communicate with employees at any time from any place. Candidates and team members can quickly and efficiently apply for jobs, swap shifts, and access important information entirely from their mobile devices. And Harri's robust employee engagement tools make team members feel more connected than ever. With Harri, as an owner or operator, you get a bird's eye view of your business, from turnover cost, labor cost, employee sentiment, compliance risk, and team performance. Run your business better by understanding the power of your people. Because when your team is the heart of your business, Harri is the heartbeat. See how it transforms your business.
Well, welcome back, kids. Yes, Joel's on a beach in Vietnam. Everybody knows that. But no, I'm not going to be alone this week because, I wasn't hugged enough when I was a kid. So I need somebody on the show with us. So I have a special guest. And give me a second. I've got to actually pull this up so that you can see the lovely website. That's right. We have Maureen Clough, host of It Gets Late Early, the podcast. Welcome to the show, Mo. How's it going?
It is going. Thank you so much for having me. I'll try to do my best to stand in for the inimitable Joel. So yeah, we'll work on it.
Yeah, it won't be as hard as you think. I promise you. I promise
He's
you.
irreplaceable.
Not to mention, we both have drinks. You have a mimosa.
And sure.
I have what you called, I'm very surprised that because not many people know the green Portuguese wine is. You're very cultured, Mo. You're very cultured.
I'm very cultured. I like alcohol. Does that make me? Yeah, sure.
Cultured and just smart. So anyway, do us a quick and dirty Twitter bio. Who is Mo? All those people who don't know you should know you. Tell them why.
So I have been working in the tech industry for a while, and at the ripe old age of 37 was referred to as a dino, at which point I had an obvious existential crisis. And I looked around and I was like, wait a minute, this is actually pretty accurate. Like, I'm one of the oldest people at this company, and it was a smaller startup. But then I did a retrospective analysis and I was like, wait, throughout my corporate career, even at the likes of Bloomberg and SAP Concur, I was among the oldest people there. And I was like, dude, wait, people are living to literally 100 now and no one's saving enough for retirement. So how does this work out? And I realized I had this really intense pressure to feel like I had to make VP or something by age 40 to solidify my chance to have a seat at the table. Especially as a woman, I felt like that too. So I started thinking like, why the hell is no one talking about this? This seems to be a very obvious problem with no very quick solution. And so I started the podcast, It Gets Late Early, to have these conversations with experts, with thought leaders, one of my favorite terms, with my peers. And it turns out like everybody's thinking about this too, and just no one's talking about it. So I thought, why not do it? So here I am.
Yeah, the maths weren't mathing, and us
mathing.
growing, we were growing older for longer. And you're right. I mean, even if females get to a VP rank, it's not that they actually get the pay or the responsibility or what have you. So, there's still a lot of work to happen there, let alone age, but also age and gender, and in many cases, also, race.
All those things. And there is an underrepresentation of older people, especially in the tech industry. But I think ageism extends across all different industries because humans are amazing. But it's something that we have just left off the table from DEIB conversations when we know it to be a factor. And so I'm on a mission to ensure that we bring it into the conversation. And I firmly believe, just like all other forms of diversity, is going to add to the bottom line, which is frankly the only fucking reason anyone would ever give a shit about it in this capitalistic hellscape of a society. So there you go. So let's go research that. Let's go figure it out. And get people to give a shit. That's my goal.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you keep rolling, and we're just gonna go ahead. We're gonna go straight into time for shout outs. And you have the first shout out. So, who would you like to shout out?
So I would like to shout out, first of all, it's kind of a movement I want to shout out. And it is the concept that your midlife is not the end, that it is in fact the beginning, which is encapsulated in some ways that I find to be really uplifting and fantastic. And in others that I find to be a little, I don't know, maybe concerning. And so I found this person is a rather large, for lack of a better term, influencer. She's also a doctor. She's a psychologist. Yeah. But why don't you go ahead and roll this?
Okay.
Yeah, Gucci.
All women are born with a magnetic energy inside of their souls. You too were born with that energy. When a woman radiates that energy, she is memorable. That magnetism is impossible to miss. You know that she is the main character in her life. You have that energy, and that energy must be nurtured, because over time, with every heartbreak, with every life-changing event, it becomes harder to see it in yourself, harder to connect with it. When you feel like something is missing from your life.
Okay, I got to stop this. This is.
It's not SNL.
You got to give me a minute here. Okay, this is a white cisgender straight dude. I don't understand the females. I just don't. Ask my wife. She explains all the time. I don't understand, first and foremost, what that energy is. Right? I don't. Yeah. Can you help me with that? And also, can you help me with the cultish piece to this, because it felt very cultish.
I love that you called out that you are a white cisgender male, because you are in fact that. And so in general, I would be like, yo, you don't get to opine on this, Chad. Like, shut the fuck up. But in this case, I am right there with you where I see that and cult alarm bells go off at me. I mean, first of all, when I saw it, I literally was like, is this satire? Is this like SNL? Because what you didn't see in that clip, and I urge everybody to go watch it because you have to see it to believe it, it next becomes like scarf dancing on the beach and women like caressing one another's faces. And it is
that seems kind of sexy to some extent. I mean,
trust me, it is not. Please go look at it and tell me what you think afterwards. I was like, what in the fresh hell is this? And like, I don't want to be a hater, but also like, what is going on with this like event that she's throwing? I got curious because I was like, I want to be magnetic. I want to find my purpose. And I went to the website. And again, this is a legitimate doctor. She's a psychologist. She's amassed like a massive following, and following is a great term for it because, again, super cult vibes there. But you go to the website and she's got this event coming up in, I think, November of this year. And I think it's in Arizona. And it's like at least $1,000 or some like angel number or something to attend. Like, I don't know if you know angel numbers, Chad. I fortunately do not, but I was clued in that these dollar amounts, like it's like $999 or 444-1111 or whatever. And I'm like, what
Was
the
that
fuck
kind of like the Walmart 97 at the end of everything,
yeah,
or 96?
It's like those online courses that are all like a weird number. Anyway,
yeah.
I was like, what is this? And I can't help but feel like everybody wants to be stepping into their power. Everyone wants to be feeling more confident, like despite the fact that we do deal with a very ageist society. And so I get like, and some of the things that are said, they're not wrong. They're actually 100% true. But it seems to me a little bit, it's got like cult MLM, like predatory vibes for me because I mean, I don't know if you're in a place where you are connecting to that and scarf dancing and facial grabbing and stuff, and you're maybe not in your best moment. It's my thought.
If Amway and yoga had a baby.
Thank you. That is, you know what? That is actually a perfect encapsulation of what that feels like. It's got MLM vibes. It's got like preying on people who are at a low point, who need inspiration. It's got all that like personal development shit.
And it's got that energy piece, right? And you know,
like the mysticism and like the spirituality. And there's so much. There was actually
I got to stop this before I faint. This is just too much for me.
Anyway, the point is like midlife is good and we're going into a great era. And like, I think that it's really awesome to see that kind of momentum. And there have been there's been more representation of women in film and in media. Yeah. And I think women are collectively saying like, we are going to refuse to fade back into the recesses. We want to be front and center. We want to step in and have the confidence in our second halves of our lives. But like this vibe, it feels off to me. Yes. Main character energy. I love that she used that like Gen Z specific phrase. I was dying. I was like, I don't think that's what they mean. But anyway, it was very, I found that to be an interesting output from all of that collective good momentum.
It was a thing. It was a thing. And we're gonna pivot back to the industry stuff right now, kids, because I can't take any more of this. Shout out to our listeners, right? We love our listeners. I received a direct message this week from a listener that shared this post from ZipRecruiter. Here we go. We did it again. ZipRecruiter is thrilled to announce that we have been certified as a great place to work for another year. Okay, here's a listener response. Quote, how the fuck did Zip win an award for being a great employer when they fire so many staff so regularly? What metrics are used when judging this award? And all I got to say is we have the smartest listeners because our listeners can spot bullshit from a mile away. So, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm actually going to flash something up here, but it says, and this is no shit, kids. It says that 92% of employees at ZipRecruiter say it's a great place to work. 92%. I guess my biggest question is right now, how many of these people are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome? The kids at home, Stockholm Syndrome is basically when you fall in love with your captor. But, moving on, big shout out to our listeners being able to call out bullshit on companies like ZipRecruiter who literally are kicking people out the door. And people, again, it's Stockholm Syndrome.
Also, isn't that shit like pay to play? Like best places to work, you like nominate yourself and like pay a submission. I mean, that's
most of them are. Yeah, most of them are. I mean, it's kind of like Glassdoor and getting a higher rating when literally you're gaming your people. It's almost like the same kind of thing. So anyway, again, our listeners are smelling it. It's bullshit. Nobody cares. But what people do care about, and you should care about it, Mo, is free stuff. That's right. We have t-shirts from Aeronap, beer from Aspen Tech Labs, whiskey from our friends at Tex Kernel. All this gets delivered to your front door, by the way. Birthday, a little rum from Plum, which everybody likes a little rum from Plum. The only way you can get registered for this, kids, chadcheese.com/free. chadcheese.com/free. Then, moving quickly, we have a couple of back-to-back events. Number one is RecFest at Nebworth Park, July 11th. Yes, that's just north of London, kids. And then we have RecFest September 12th and 13th in Nashville. Have you been to one of these more? Did you go last year?
I did not, but man, do I ever want to sign up for this year?
I'll make sure Jamie knows. So if you're listening and you don't know, kids, RecFest is all hands staff type of meeting. This is where you bring your staff to learn, bond, connect with peers, learn practical applications of process, tech, AI, standardized procedures. Experts in the space are going to be there. Chad and Cheese will be there in London and also in Nashville. So go to RecFest, RecFest.com ASAP and get those tickets. What have you heard about RecFest? I'm interested because you haven't been yet, but what have you heard?
I have heard that it is rad and it's a lot of fun and they do things differently. And it's like a big outdoor festival vibe, which is very different from your typical conference. And so that speaks to me because, hey, we're all getting together for the first time since COVID basically these days. And like, why not do it outside in a fun festival vibe? Like I'd like Coachella with my business. Thank you. That sounds good. I'm in.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. And, where it's held in Nebworth is amazing. Big field, but Nashville, again, this is year 2 in the U.S. It's more than likely going to double in size. Had about 1,200 people last year, looking at probably going over 2,500. It was amazing, and we're pretty excited.
Nashville's a great town too, as is obviously London.
It is. And you know what else is great? Topics. That's what's great. All right. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC for short, kids, charged the founder and former chief executive of now bankrupt AI recruitment startup, Joonko, with defrauding investors out of at least $21 million. The SEC alleged Ilit Raz, former CEO of Joonko, provided potential investors with, listen to this, false client lists, fake testimonials, false company earnings, false bank statements, forged contracts, falsified the number of job seekers using the platform, and provided fake claims of how Joonko's AI worked, all in the attempt to close more funding. And it worked, as Joonko closed a Series B funding in September of 2022 for $25 million. Raz also faces parallel criminal charges of securities fraud and wire fraud from federal prosecutors in Manhattan. Each of the charges carry a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison, according to the Justice Department. This sounds like a backstory for a character in Orange is the New Black. Does this have potential for a Netflix documentary, maybe?
It 100% does. I mean, this is the first I'm hearing of all of this, but I am sadly not very surprised. It sounds like a tale as old as time. It sounds like what just happens in the VC funding world. Like, these people are total charlatan, just assholes, and they get the money. Don't fund women though. Fund these guys. Great. Awesome. Perfect. It's just how does this continue? How does this, it blows my mind. It boggles my mind, but yeah, it's sadly a tale as old as time at this point.
Well, Joonko also a diverse platform, a diversity platform. Number one.
Cute.
Number two, the CEO, a female. So at the end, not good.
No,
I mean, just not good all the way around.
No, that's horrifying. I'm very disappointed in that. There likely will be some sort of documentary, especially because the CEO is a female, because we love to tear female CEOs down. It's our favorite thing to do. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, Theranos, right? We've got all these
Elizabeth
dudes
Holmes,
who broke the entire fucking financial system. But
let's focus
how
on
many
her.
of them? How many went in cuffs? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Such a thing. But yeah, we should definitely prepare ourselves to see that documentary. It's going to happen.
But we don't
maybe a dramatization.
Yeah. I mean, we just don't see.
Crashed.
Yes, we
Pumped.
crashed. Also, Dumb Money, which is about GameStop, the GameStop or GameStop
stock.
So good. Yeah,
I bet that's. I'm gonna check that out.
It's so good. Anyway, yes, this is in our space, kid. kids, Joonko. We've talked about them for years now. And last year, around this time last year, we actually reported on the prospect of Joonko going bankrupt. It's all done now. There's a lot happening here. We're going to keep you abreast of it. It's not good news. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you got to hear what's going on so that you don't do stupid shit like this. Moving on. Okay. So moving from bullshit AI to, I sure the hell hope this isn't bullshit AI, as Paris-based Mistral AI announces 600 million euros in Series B funding after only a year in operation, which brings total funding to 1.1 billion and a valuation of 6 billion. This new funding round will accelerate Mistral's roadmap, and it continues to bring frontier AI into everyone's hands. The company is developing various generative AI models, co-founded by Meta and Google's DeepMind ex-workers. The firm will support foundational models and aim to compete with, go figure, OpenAI, and Anthropic and others. Some of Mistral's investors, including Lightspeed Ventures Partners, Andreessen Horowitz, NVIDIA, love those guys, Samsung Ventures, and Salesforce Ventures, OpenAI, Gemini, Cloud, and now Mistral, not Minstrel, but Mistral. Have you tried them all? Have you tried any of them? Tell me about your AI journey thus far.
I have not tried them all. I have tried mostly OpenAI, and it's pretty impressive. I know it's one of those things that's like on my list, like I really need to dive in much more than I have. That's very clear. But, you know, to me, I see this news and it's like, well, yeah, anything with AI in it, it gets funded like to the hilt, right? And if you don't have AI in your pitch deck, what are you even doing, right? Like it has to be there. But it is interesting to see that they're going after this. I mean, this category is pretty crowded at this point, and I wonder what the differentiation between their tool and the others will be, and you know how much of a commodity it'll be, and you know ultimately who's going to win out, right? So. And if there's going to be like an aggregator of LLM models or how this is all going to play out. But yeah, I love me a Paris-based startup though. Like super into the fact they call it Le Chat. Yeah. Like that's freaking rad. Le Chat, like I want to try it. It's everything better comes from France. So like sign me up.
Well, it's funny because I always ask questions whenever I jump in, and I ask fairly, I think that are hard questions, not too incredibly hard. I mean, I don't know enough about physics to ask those questions. So I ask, what's the main problems with the U.S. political system? And generally you'll get back some bullshit that's just kind of fluffy and whatnot. But I did this with Mistral, and it outlined like 10 things, and they were on point. Oh, and they were on point.
Did you try the same prompt elsewhere or just on this?
Yes.
Okay.
The rest of them was a little bit more flowery, right? This one was not. And I don't know if it's because it's out of Paris.
Could be the Euro thing, man.
One of the things that Parisians can do is they can rebel. And this might be the rebel large language model.
They're also really good at shitting on Americans. Not that we don't deserve it. But I'm just saying. Although I did look on LinkedIn, and the job openings that I saw were all based in San Francisco. So that was interesting.
Yeah. Go figure. So staying in the AI sector, new McKinsey research shows, quote, as generative AI adoption accelerates, survey respondents report measurable benefits and increased mitigation of risk of inaccuracy. A small group of high performers lead the way, end quote. Well, no shit, McKinsey. It's like saying in 1910, automobile adoption accelerated and survey respondents report getting to work faster and not smelling like horse shit when you're arriving in the morning. I mean, sometimes this research drives me crazy. I was reading through it. There were some good nuggets, but I mean, it was way too long to play this game. Yes. I actually have to throw it into ChatGPT and say, get through the horse shit.
Give me the nuggets. Yeah.
But let's talk about practical applications. So you said that you've played with them a little bit. I have played with them a lot. How are you using AI? How, where, and how much time does it save you?
So I will tell you that I am not using AI the way I should. Like, I absolutely am not the person who should be the poster child for this. Why? Well, let's see. Laziness / ADHD.
Well,
perhaps
if you were lazy, you'd be using AI because
I know. It's like hypocritical in some ways. It's just like an order of operations issue for me. Like, I know I need to be using it. I've used it just to kind of test, what can I get out of this? Like, for example, I wanted to find a certain episode of Silicon Valley, HBO Silicon Valley, my all-time favorite show. I mean, it's just the fucking best. Also, they like predicted so much of what happened in our world. It's a little bit scary.
That's pretty awesome, by the way.
It's terrifying. I'm like, God damn it, you guys were onto something. But I wanted to find a specific, or I think I asked it to send me the episodes that had specific reference to age and like made fun of older people. And it categorized all the episodes like, boom, this episode 10. And I'm like, thank you. I didn't have to watch the entire season and like get my notebook out, so stuff like that can be helpful. And it's also, I asked it, I just was curious, like, write me a script for a show all about age bias on this. And it did it. Now, was it great? No, but it is a starting point. So I know that it could help someone like me with organizational tasks. And it's just a matter of me not actually sitting down and taking the time to do it. And it's my own fault. Like, I'm an idiot. I should be using this stuff. And I know that I'm setting myself back by not. So, I mean, even you, Chad, you've been like, yo, Mo, why aren't you using AI for your podcast? And I'm like, you're right, Chad. God damn it. You're right. Always right, Chad.
But thank you. I'm sorry. Carry on. I stopped you.
You're like, wait, one more time? One more time?
I stopped you at the right point. But seriously, so I use ChatGPT for titles and Dolly for cover art ideas. Yep. Riverside creates transcripts. I mean, this is the platform that we're using right now to actually record on. Creates transcripts, then it uses the transcripts to create overviews, takeaways, and short video clips. I use Opus Clips for more video clips, Gemini Daily for Google Assistant, and ChatGPT for executive summary. So I have to say that
you're doing it well.
Platforms,
you're doing it right.
Well, but the thing is, like, let's say, for instance, for Riverside, the platforms who are implementing AI into their system, like Riverside, are what we should be using. And here's what I mean. When we record this podcast and create an enormous amount of content through the text in the transcript, then audio, then video, the platform can then consume all of that content and then split it out into suggested video clips, podcast titles, audio clips, still 100%. Captures, and then takeaways. So all the suggested content, all the suggested content comes together and it literally consumes it and then it spits it out. It's not all great, but it is.
I was going to say
better than most stuff. Oh yeah.
I've done the like magic clips things and I'm like, that did not encapsulate any sort of point. And that was super random. Why did you pick that? It's still cool that it exists and it's going to get better and better. Which is why I use Opus.
I use Opus because of that. And I'm hoping that, let's say, for instance, Riverside buys an Opus and then, that happens and they just get better tech inside of it. But I mean, the way that I can see something like this working is, let's say, for instance, like a sales co-pilot and advisor. AI listens to calls, transcribes, creates a summary of the call, provides advice, and then AI follow-ups with a prospect or client to provide additional information and or schedule follow-ups, right? Yeah. This, to me, is fucking magic.
And it is.
And we're going to talk about in the next segment how we're going to be doing this, hopefully, in recruiting. But until then, before we get out of there, just give me your kind of like overall of, you were talking about who's going to win. Do you really think there's going to be an AI winner, or do you just think there's going to be a small group who literally commands the space?
Well, I'm not very good at predicting the future, but what I can tell you is, I mean, you think about like the search functionality, even just like Google killed that, right? So there were all these different people vying for search functionality, and then Google became the just like main star. So I can see that happening. Potentially. I think, there has been such incredible adoption, as you pointed out, like the whole Henry Ford, like car adoption thing too, right? In the McKinsey report, I get it. But like there has been just this massive growth in the AI industry and people are testing it out. And some people are testing it out more than others, Chad versus me. However, I do use it, I realize now, because I have an otter that transcribes all of my meetings and whatnot. And it helps me as someone who has ADHD and found out at age 36. It's really helpful because then I can like really zone in to the conversation and know that I'm not going to miss anything. Like it's going to tell me what to do next, et cetera. But I think that it could very plausibly become kind of one winner out of all of this. And you know, it's just like an arms race hurtling through space towards something that's, you know, not necessarily known the outcome that could be potentially possible, which is a little scary when we're talking about like for-profit companies who don't actually give a shit about ethics or baked in bias or anything because they all just want to make money. So it's scary. I mean, like when the platforms start saying, we won't even charge you because we want your fucking data so much, that sends off alarm bells for me. Like, I'm like, holy shit. But I do try to remain as optimistic as possible as someone who considers herself a bit of a realist / verging on pessimism.
Great point about Google.
Short, maybe.
Great point about Google. I mean, you were 100% right. They own the fucking search market. That's all there is to it.
Bing? No.
No. No.
So true.
And I think that's what scares the shit out of Google is they were leapfrogged by OpenAI.
Totally.
And that 97, 95% ownership of search in the market, that in itself could, I mean, next thing you know, could go away. I mean, that's a very great point. That's a great point. That's why we have you on the show, Mo, because you're smart.
Yeah. What can I say? I know a couple things. Experience matters.
Okay, so let's
my old age.
Let's talk about now some tech in recruiting. Right after the break, we're gonna pour ourselves a little bit more green wine, a little bit more mimosa, and we'll be right back. All right, Mo, get ready. So we're gonna.
So it's running.
Start. Oh yeah, you're good. You're that's good. That's good show right there. Look at that.
Oh, good.
Good pour.
Good. I'm trying.
So we're going to start the conversation about AI with a smart but rather boring acquisition. You cool with that, Mo?
I'm in.
Okay. So the following is from Steve Bartle, co-founder and CEO over at Gem. Quote, today we welcome Interview Planner to Gem. We acquired Interview Planner's intelligent scheduling automation to help teams fast-track hiring and deliver exceptional candidate experiences. With this new addition, we bring powerful scheduling automation to the rest of Gem's powered platform, end quote. Big startup, not so big acquisition. What do you think, Mo?
I mean, my initial thought was like, do we really need this? Like, don't we have scheduling tools? Like, I won't say that I've used Gem, so let's throw that out. Reality, but it's the ever-present like build versus buy, right? Do you build it? Do you buy it? Do you partner? It's just that always that question. I will say when I went through the rest of their beautifully worded and exceptionally architected article where they showed all these benefits and features, I thought, man, yeah, that actually sounds pretty good. Because let me tell you, using an ATS is a shitty situation. Like, it's a horrible experience. Interviewing at tech companies is abysmal. And these panel interviews, it says allegedly that it's going to make everything easy to panel interview schedule, which obviously has a lot of complexity baked into it. Yeah. And my initial thought was like, cool that it's going to be easier, but does that mean I'm going to have to do more interviews? Because I'm out on that. If it's so simple that you just hit a button and then they're going to be like, oh, we're going to interview you with like 17,000 people at this company and make you take the, process 10 times longer, like I'm out. But the functionality looked good. I got to say, it looked pretty nice. And I was like, hey, tech stack, pulling it together and diminishing the number of different technical applications that you have to work in. Yeah, sure. I like that. That's nice. It's easier. But as a partnerships person, as my background in business development, I'm like, I love the whole plug into different APIs and bring the best of breed and whatnot. But perhaps that's what they think they've done by acquiring them. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, so interview scheduling, Not a big problem these days. It's the interview themselves, right? It's being able to conduct those, whether you have a third party doing them, you have, video or audio doing them, or whatever you might have doing. But interview scheduling seems to be the place everyone starts with process automation. Why? Because scheduling is time consuming. It's boring and it's a true pain in the ass.
It is.
So it's one of the most logical places to start. Plus, it's not just making it easier for the candidate. It's an easier process for the recruiter, hiring manager, and everybody involved. So I would have to imagine this very narrow point solution, let's call it a micro point solution, was a bargain basement acqui-hire type of acquisition. In September of 2021, after receiving $100 million in funding, CEO Steve Bartle once again said, quote, "It's time to accelerate," end quote. And it's 2022. So Gem has added an ATS AI process automation. They're partnering with point solutions like Happy Dance to deliver dynamic career site experiences. And we're seeing very basic use of AI in Gem thus far. So we just talked about practical application for the use of AI, mainly around use cases on Riverside. So tell me your thought on how do we use AI, especially in systems like Gem, knowing the kind of data that they have available? How do we use those systems to really advance the use of AI?
Man, the use of AI around these systems, hopefully there's a way to pull feedback from these interview loops, I would think, like from different managers to get sort of, I would say, here's one thing I actually applaud Amazon for, is they have a hiring process that, while arduous and miserable as an applicant, actually seeks to reduce the bias internal candidates would face, or external candidates would face with all the different people looking at them. So perhaps there'd be a way to like pull in the information that was input by different managers and different people who are interviewing candidates, and I don't know, assimilate that data and pull some nuggets out or something. But I mean, I'm trying to think of how AI could also influence the that sort of a tech piece. But that's the thing that comes to mind for me, is I'm thinking about the biases that we all have when we look at different candidates. And maybe there's also a way to standardize some of the interview process, because the other thing I've seen in companies is, holy shit, like we don't teach people how to interview others. No. And it's just like, it's like really ridiculous. The difference between the experiences of interviewing with person A versus person B at a company, and how much of it just goes back to like gut sense, or who you know, or who someone just like happened to like. It's affinity bias stuff. So I think that there is an opportunity for AI to come help democratize the hiring process a bit, potentially. It also has the chance to do really shitty things. Like, for example, there was a company called iTutor Group out of China that was summarily rejecting. Yeah, the EEOC nailed them because they were rejecting candidates who applied to the company who were 55 if they were female, and 60 if they were men. Because again, men are allowed to age more than women naturally in our shitty society. I know.
Even though we die earlier, our life expectancy.
I know, right? Like, it's crazy. So it was wild. But so there are ways that ATS systems can be programmed for malevolence as well. But I think that there is also opportunity, if you just get it in the right hands, for it to level the playing field, make things better. It's all about whether it gets in the hands of bad actors or not, right? Yeah. And whether we have the appropriate sort of regulatory arms to govern that. So
I think first and foremost, you hit the nail on the head with regard to standardization, and then also like you have high volume versus middle management versus like executive, right? That's all entirely different. And interviewing is the hard part. So if you're in high volume and you have literally 4 knockout questions, do you have a heartbeat? Can you get to work? I mean, those types of things, right? And then right at the end of it, if you hit all those and you pass it, you go directly to an interview. That's all there is to it, right? You go directly to a fucking interview. That's the cheat code, right? For that level. You can do that at middle management level as well. There's no question. So there's better ways of doing it, but I'm expecting core talent platforms, the applicant tracking systems, to start recording more information, much like I was talking about the sales example, then consuming that information, then spitting out messages, rescheduling, and fielding basic Q&A from job seekers, hiring managers, and recruiters. So anyone with access Anybody
It
with
could honestly be
access,
amazing.
anybody should be able to go into the system, ask for a situation report on the specific requisition or candidate. A VP should be able to go ask the system to pull together a report on how many interviews are rescheduled by managers and then ranks them best to worst, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so many different ways to apply this.
Totally
I'm
agree.
really excited to continue to see boring acquisitions fit a need, but we've got to get to the next step in the talent industry around advancing process methodology and AI. Joel is always talking about Facebook's year of efficiency. We're in fucking HR. Okay. We're not following Facebook. Give me a goddamn break. But we need to. I mean, we need to, not in the fact that we need to bloat and then throw, 20,000
Right.
people away. We need to be more efficient.
Yeah. And that could absolutely help get you there for sure. I think
Yeah.
there's some really great applications you just threw out there that could actually democratize the playing field a bit, which I love.
It's
I'm all
what
into
we're
that.
trying to do. And big surprise coming from the AP, by the way. CEO pay, it's out of whack. Did you know that? This median,
it's weird.
the median
100%.
pay package for CEOs for S&P 500 companies rose to $16.3 million, up 12.6%, according to data analyzed from the AP. Meanwhile, wages and benefits netted from private sector workers rose 4.1% through 2023. That's right. CEOs get a 12.6 bump, and the people actually doing the work 4.1% bump.
Ding, ding,
So,
ding.
for some perspective, back in 2021, EPI published a report which showed that since 1978, that's right, we have to extract this out so we can understand the actual trends, kids. Since 1978, CEO pay has risen over 1,300%. And today, that's closer to 1,500%, while normal American non-exec workers only saw a 13.5% raise from 1978 till fucking today. But hold on, kids. The government is here to help. A new proposed bill. I know I have to laugh when I say that too. A government bill,
Sorry.
proposed bill in January of this year would mean that under the Tax Excessive CEO Pay Act, tax penalties would begin at 0.5% percentage points for companies that pay their top executives between 50 and 100 times more than their typical workers. Companies that pay top executives over 500 times more than typical workers, they're going to get hit with a 5% percentage points. And I just talked about two companies last week that do that. Walmart and fucking American Airlines. Anyway, all private and publicly held U.S. corporations with average annual sales for the 3 preceding years of at least 100 million would be subject to this tax. The bill would raise an estimated $150 billion over 10 years that could be used to support working families and reduce inequality. Is this the right way to go at this problem, Mo?
I mean, we have to do something.
I
Clearly,
agree.
companies aren't doing any of this work on themselves. They're just continuing to, what blew my mind about that article too was that there is an active mention of boards being concerned that if they don't keep on inflating the pay of their executives, that they will walk. And I'm like, well, why don't they do that for employees? Like, we're the ones making the money. We're the ones doing the work. It was like that
Yeah.
Spotify CEO who's like, we let 1,500 people go, and like, oh my God, it like had an impact on our operations. Like, hello. It's just, I think we've reached a level of corporate greed in this country that is just like unconscionable. I mean, you have Boeing out there just stuffing the pockets of the shareholders at the risk
Yes.
of the flying public, and actually in some cases like maybe killing whistleblowers. I don't know, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but like what the fuck. And then
Yes.
you have like, I mean, honestly, it looks so bad. I was like, guys, can you make it like more plausibly deniable? that
This
you didn't
looks
do
like
this?
Putin's Russia to some extent.
Exactly. That is literally what I said. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
So that happened. I mean, you had like, gosh, there was the surge pricing incident for hamburgers at Wendy's. There was the McDonald's, or no, it wasn't McDonald's. It was the Kellogg's CEO who said, hey guys, why don't you just eat cereal for breakfast if you're a struggling American family? It's just,
let them eat cereal.
Has your family eaten cereal recently? Kellogg's CEO, it's just disgusting and despicable. So we got to do something. They're not going to do this themselves. They're in it, the self-dealing. They're interested in fattening their pockets. I am grossed out by it. I think Americans have had enough of it. And so I think that the fact that there's regulation that's being proposed is indicative of that. And so it's reached like a bit of a fever pitch. People just, they're done. In tech, so many of us have been laid off, and we were the ones who made the profits for these companies happen. And it used to be we're laying people off because of the economic environment. Then we're doing well, getting record profits. Oh, we're still laying you off. It's like there's no loyalty. There's no career trajectory. There's no longevity. And I think people are just pissed. So yeah, I'm for it. I would love to know exactly what they think they're going to do with those funds, you know, in general, with the funds they collect. I'd love to see the plan for that, and I hope it's a good one. But yeah, hell yeah, I'm into it. I feel like it's a good call.
Yeah, I gotta say one thing. I want to see something happen, but
you done messed up, Aaron.
You done messed up, Aaron. So the problem with Democrats, and I actually grew up probably about 40 years of my life. Don't hold this against me as a Republican. And I am yes, and I am totally not that today. But the problem with Democrats is that most of them play small ball. 150 billion in 10 years isn't even a tax for those companies. When you're talking about really Walmart by themselves make $158 billion a year in profit. That's fucking that's bullshit money.
Chump change. It's not enough to make a difference. Yeah.
Here's my proposal.
It's just performative.
I'm not just going to shit on this. I'm going to have a proposal. I've been thinking about this. I've been listening to the podcast. I've been playing the whole economics game. I could be 100% wrong. First and foremost, you tie CEO compensation directly to the base number. For example, a CEO cannot receive compensation over 30 times that of their lowest paid worker. In that scenario, the CEO would need to raise the lower paid workers' wages to receive an incentive themselves. If the CEO's bonus then exceeds that of the base number, in this case, 30 times, they and the company would be fined at a 6% of overall global revenue. The fine has to be stringent enough to ensure compliance. This would give companies a reason to rein in the out of control CEO comp, raise workers' wages, and have a stiff enough fine that would make any board member wake up in night sweats.
Well, that's what Jeff Bezos wants his employees to do. Wake up with their sheets drenched in sweat, being nervous. Yeah. So sure, let's do that. Let's get the
guy who can afford a fucking super yacht, right? It's a yacht with another yacht.
It's like, it's like 5 on top of one another. But that's the thing to me, the egos are so big. Why don't I don't understand how someone like that wouldn't want to just go and some people will probably hate me for this conversation, but like, why don't you just go save the world? Then you're the man, right? Like if you can just go like eradicate poverty or like help people from facing homelessness or stop people from starving, like you are the man. Like I will sing your praises all day. Everyone on planet Earth would. So like stop building some stupid dick-shaped spaceship and do that. Like help, like, Jesus, come on.
Well, I can't do any better than that. Dick-shaped spaceship, penis rocket. That's what we call it, penis rocket.
Yeah.
LinkUp is the leading provider of deep, accurate, and actionable labor market data. Unique in that we only get job listings from the one source of truth, the employer's website. By going to the source, we avoid all the duplicate and expired job listings that plague job boards and thereby other job data sets. Our data offers the clearest window into employers of all types and sizes throughout the world for an ever-growing number of use cases and applications.
All right. Well, we are back, and we're going to finish up with, guess what? We're going to finish up with some mo, right? Because there's no such thing as less. There's only mo. Here we go.
I'm here for all the puns today, man.
Yes. So you had a TikTok that I really enjoyed, And we actually changed this entire topic because I saw this TikTok. I'm like, fuck this. We've got to talk about this. So so if you're watching on YouTube, here it comes. If not, you'll hear the audio. Here we go.
So this restaurant put out an age ban and people are pretty pissed. Take a look. You cannot eat here if you are under 30 years old. So this restaurant in St. Louis decided they wanted to keep the vibes grown and sexy. And so they decided to have nobody under the age of 30 in there in order to achieve that.
And sexy.
Yeah, the owners are getting a lot of heat on social media and otherwise, but their answer to this is like, sorry, this is what we need to do in order to keep the vibes we want. And we don't want any sort of rowdiness that comes with like younger people eating at our restaurant. Now, some people are rightly pointing out that your age does not dictate your behavior, but other people are like, dude, no, this is great. Like, we really want to just have a chill time and we don't want the drama that, quote, younger people bring, right? So I'm curious, like, do you guys think this is offensive or do you think this is something that you would like? Are you over 35? Do you want to eat with only people who are over 35? Like, I really want to know your thoughts.
Well, you're going to get my thoughts, whether you like them or not, Mo. Okay, so first and foremost, I couldn't get into a bar until I was 21, even though I was in the military and shot at when I was 18 years old. And I still couldn't get into a bar when I was 18 or 19.
Upsetting.
Okay, so I kind of have that, and that's a personal thing that I've got to deal with. But
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
There are resorts that are adults only, some are couples only, and then there are others that are just family friendly, right? So just as long, I believe, just as long as they aren't discriminating on race, gender, sexual orientation, or religion, I'm not saying a problem, but again, I don't know, I need to say this again, I'm a white cisgendered straight guy. So what the fuck am I missing here? Help me out.
I mean, yes, it is an ageist policy, obviously, on its face. I also understand some people are like, well, hell yeah, I don't want any kids here. Like, get them out of here. And I'm thinking more like literal children than people in their 20s. But I think that there are other ways than expressly calling out, like, we don't want your kind if you're under 30 or 30 for guys, or no, excuse me, 30 for women and 35 for guys, which made me laugh. So it's like a different sliding scale based on your gender. So there is gender discrimination in there too. But I was like, there were other ways to just attract the demographic that you are hoping to have at your restaurant than like overtly saying thou shalt not come, right? Like, so you can have the vibe that maybe wouldn't appeal to someone who you would stereotype as like younger than 30, right? Or 35 as a dude. So I think that there are ways of doing it. I think, you know, there's no such thing as bad press. This could easily have been a PR ploy for them to get more people in the door. The comments on my post are really hilarious. Some of them were like, hell yeah, get those kids off planes too. And then other people were like, dude, the worst behaved people are the boomer Karens at these restaurants. Like, what are they even talking about? So there's just a lot of stereotyping going on. And this is like classic media shit because they love to pit generation against generation. We've been doing it like since the beginning of time, and it's clickbait coverage. Like I know what's going on here. And I think that restaurant probably was like, we're going to get some free press out of this. We're going to get some like hate. We're going to get a lot of love. And yeah, I find it more than anything amusing, honestly. And technically it's legal for companies to do something like this because it's within their own right. It's not an employment situation. They're not saying we won't hire people under age 30. Although, however, that would be federally legal to say because the protection only is for those over 40. So you can actually actively discriminate against younger people at the federal level in some states and different cities. That's illegal. But anyway, that's kind of a side note. But yeah, I mean, would I do it? No, but like they're technically allowed to, and it is getting them a shitload of press. Some love, some hate. No such thing as bad press.
Which they might love. Not everybody loves the Chad and Cheese podcast, but it doesn't matter. But more of them love the Chad and Cheese podcast. Why? Because Mo's been on it. So Mo, if somebody wants to find out more about you, maybe listen to the podcast or something like that, where would you send them?
I would send them to either my website at itgetslateearly.com or on Apple Podcasts. It's just type in It Gets Late Early. You will find me. I'm also on the socials. I'm Maureen W. Clough. That's Clough. On both Instagram and on TikTok. Yes, I am on TikTok. I am 41 and I am on TikTok. People up there exist on TikTok. Yeah, exactly. Chad, I wasn't going to call you out, but yeah, you're beyond me.
I'm an Xer. Too. I'm on TikTok. I don't give a fuck. Where's the bar? Mo, we out.
Thank you for listening to, what's it called? A podcast. The Chad The cheese. Brilliant. They talk about recruiting. They talk about technology. But most of all, they talk about nothing. Just a lot of shout-outs of people you don't even know. And yet you're listening. It's incredible. And not one word about cheese. Not one. Cheddar. Blue. Nacho. Pepper jack. Swiss. So many cheeses and not one word. So weird. Anywho, be sure to subscribe today on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. That way you won't miss an episode. And while you're at it, visit www.chadcheese.com. Just don't expect to find any recipes for grilled cheese. It's so weird. We out!